Well done to Freddie. He has shown how to identify a fact by saying, I think this is a fact because, and then giving his reason for it. So superb there, Freddie. Well done. Good morning, Year 5. Hopefully at the start of the video you will have seen a screenshot I have taken from Frank Cottrell Boyce's Twitter page, just advertising what I mentioned in yesterday's video about his question and answer session he's planning to do on Thursday afternoon. So if you have an adult who has a Twitter profile or YouTube login, it looks like he's going to be using YouTube on Thursday to read a bit of the book as it says and then answer questions that we may have. So as I said yesterday, it's a really good opportunity to actually speak to an author that we are currently enjoying a book from. So please investigate that with a responsible adult, and then also send us in any questions and answers that if you actually manage to get him to answer one of your questions, that would be really, really good. So please have a look at that. Right. Today then we are going to be looking a little bit further at the skill of inference, and then also, as before, carrying on with our own reading of Cosmic. So here we go. Okay, the question I left you with yesterday was, why didn't Liam correct Mrs. Sass before it was too late? It sounded like some of you thought that he didn't want to upset her. He was curious to see how it was going to end up, or he was just enjoying himself so much. He got to sit in the staff room, it mentions in the book, and he was enjoying his cup of tea and biscuits, and everything just seemed to be going well for him. So he just kept going with it to see how far it would go. So thank you for your suggestions. Now we're going to have a little look at that inference skill further. So as per the usual, we're going to have a quick look at some of our key vocabulary. So again, we've got abnormally, certificate, procedure, metaphorical, and dispensation. And thank you again for those children starting to send me some definitions in. Can you remember what's the root word in the word stroking? That's right, it is stroke. And what's the spelling rule in the word specialist? That's right, it's the shul, the C-I-A-L in the middle. Okay, right, I'm just going to say them today. So it's abnormally, obviously you're repeating it, certificate, procedure, metaphorical, and dispensation. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about inference now. So, inference has got a few parts to it. So it's what I read. Use quotes from the text as reference. So that's the evidence that we're talking about before. What I know. So using your own experiences to further your understanding of what's happening in a text. And then when you put those together, what you're reading and what you know, you can then make a more accurate inference, putting the two and two together. So that's what we're going to try and do a little bit today. So I said yesterday that I wasn't going to read out the whole chapter. I wasn't going to try and fit the whole chapter on the screen. What I'm just going to do is focus on the bit of text for each question. Okay, so let's skip to the question first so we know what we're looking out for. So the question is, how do we know Liam panicked? Now, let's look at the text. I will read this bit to you. It says, even though I could barely see the premature facial hair, once I knew it was there, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was ticklish and it was tempting to stroke it. Stroking it made other people notice it, and when other people noticed it, they tended to shout, Wolverine! And worse, which is why I decided to get rid of it. I slashed at the brown candy floss with Dad's razor, which did get rid of it. Sadly, it also got rid of, and then the text goes on. So, how do we know Liam panicked? It's my turn at the moment, so I'm going to answer this question, but you might have a go at home anyway. Now, we're looking for clues in the text. So it doesn't say, I panicked, or Liam panicked. It doesn't say that. We've got to see, is there anything in there that suggests that he did? And for me, it's this word here. So I'm getting the old magic pen out. I slashed at the brown candy floss. Now the brown candy floss is referring to the stubble or the hair on his face. But the word is slashed. No, Magic Pen's not having it there. Shan't worry about that. I will just highlight instead. So slashed. There we go. I slashed at the brown candy floss. Now, using my own experience, if you slash at something, you're doing it quickly, you're rushing. And often when you might be rushing or it's because you're panicking. So that's me using my own experience to identify this. So how do we know Liam panicked? We might say, I know he panicked because he slashed. So there's the evidence. We said slashed. Put it into a sentence. So let's have a go at that. I know he panicked because, excuse my typing speed, because he slashed at it. This means, to explain it a little bit, this means he did it in a rush, which often occurs, excuse my typo, which often occurs when we panic. I mean, we don't do things slowly and carefully when we panic, do we? So slashing would suggest that is the case. So using the evidence, putting it into a sentence. Let's have a look at another one. Okay, so look at the question first. How did Liam's mom feel about his results? It's not going to say, my mom felt something, something, something. It's not going to be that obvious. Point of that would be a retrieval question because it's inference. We're looking at the clues. So let's look at the text. At the hospital, they gave me scans, blood tests, and a I've been brave sticker. It took me to see a specialist and then a special specialist. They both said I was normal, completely normal, extra normal, abnormally normal, but tall. It's just a little boy, said Mom. He's growing up too quickly. We all feel like that about our children, Mrs. Digby. The important thing is to remember that he's still a child, even though he looks like a grown-up. So, let's see if we can find the evidence. Is there evidence about how Liam's mom felt? Well, the only bit where she actually says anything is in the middle. So this is where our evidence is going to be. She says he's just a little boy, and she says he's growing up too quickly. So how does she feel? Well, she says he's just a little boy. That, to me, suggests a few things. What do we think? Pause it. But for me, my point is she was worried. How do we know that she's worried? What's the evidence? Because she still thinks of him as a little boy. So we're making a point here. We're answering the question in blue, and our evidence from the text is in red. She was worried. How did Liam's mom feel? She was worried because she still thinks of him as a little boy. She can't let go of the fact that he's growing up, and which is why he's getting taller. Okay, next one. Your turn on this one. So the question is, how do you know Liam's dad was offended? So we'll have a look at the text. We're looking for something to do with Liam's dad. You might go back after the summer, Liam, and find that everyone's had a bit of a spurt and you're not even the tallest in class. Do you know, that makes sense, said Mum. His dad was tall at primary and now look at him. He's well below average height. In fact, said Dad, I'm slightly above average. In fact, you're not. Only very slightly, but very, very definitely, I am above average. We'll talk about this another day, said Mom, which is what she always says when she wants you to shut up. Right. Your turn. Pause the screen, pause the video rather. Can you spot anything that the dad does or says that might suggest he was offended? Okay, I'll pause a moment myself and let you have a look. Right, if you've had a go, we're obviously looking around here, aren't we? Where he says, I'm slightly above average. Liam's mum says, in fact, you're not. And then he comes back with, only very slightly, but very, very definitely, I am above average. So he's arguing with his wife, Liam's mum. Now, if he wasn't offended, he wouldn't argue. So my feeling is, using my own experience, knowledge, and looking at the clues in the text, my feeling is, hopefully we agree, he argued with Mom about his height. That's our evidence. And the point is, it's the other way around this time, which shows he did not like what she said. So how do you know Liam's dad was offended? He didn't like what she said because he argued with her. So you can phrase that either way around, making your point to answer the question and giving the evidence in the text to support that. Okay, so that is what I'm looking for when we create our inference answers. Make your point, answer the question, and back it up with the evidence to explain it. So there's like two parts to our answers. Tomorrow we're going to have a go a little bit more independently. Right, now on to Cosmic. Okay, so remember yesterday, Florida and Liam were starting to realise they could get up to a bit of mischief because people thought that Liam was Florida's dad. So we're going to carry on from there. It was a golden time, and maybe we should have stopped there. But if you play a lot of games, then the moment you get good at something, that feels like level 1. You start itching to level up. One day, Lisa had to finish early because her dad was ill. We could have spent the time in the Strand doing all the usual things, or we could have used the extra time to look for level 2. The 61 stops right outside the parish hall and goes all the way to Liverpool's celebrated city centre. So there it was, the way to level 2. Being a grown-up in the Strand was fun. Being a grown-up in Liverpool's celebrated city centre was totally cosmic. The moment we got off the bus, a woman in a white miniskirt and a red sash came up, said hello, and gave me a free sample of a new yoghurt drink. Here, she said, have a couple more for your little girl. We hadn't even finished drinking them when another woman gave me a free newspaper, and another one in a trouser suit asked me if I had 5 minutes to answer some questions. The questions were mostly about how we'd got to town and what our favourite shops were. Then there were a few about what year I was born and what I did for a living. I gave her my dad's birthday and told her I was a taxi driver. She said, would you like to come in here with me and taste a new sandwich spread we're developing and on which we'd value your opinion? She took us to a really nice room and gave us free sandwiches and fizzy water. Afterwards, we had to fill in questionnaires and we were allowed to keep the pens. Florida asked for more sandwiches. The woman in the trouser suit laughed and said, I guess that's all the feedback we need. So can we have some more then? No. Which is how we ended up near the world-famous waterfront, looking in the window of the Porsche showroom. Florida said, that would be going too far, wouldn't it? Let's find out. I was getting that crispy new world feeling again. It was my first time in a car showroom. I'd never seen a car on a carpet before. It was like being in the living room of the posh car family. The cars looked smaller and glossier than they usually do. A man in a suit saw us come in and said, be with you in a minute, sir. Help yourself to coffee. There was a coffee machine and a plate of biscuits. Disappointingly, mostly plain digestives. Florida nabbed the only bourbon. Then she walked around dropping crumbs on their carpet. There was one really nice, sleek-looking car. Florida said, take a picture of me with your mobile. Why? That's what dads do. So she leaned on the bonnet and smiled while I took her picture. Straight away, the man in the suit was standing next to us. Oh, I admire your taste, he said. Florida said, this is the Boxster. Wayne Rooney's got 2 like this in red. He has indeed, said the man in the suit, and he bought them both here. You're a very well-informed little girl. Then he asked how old she was. I said, she's 11. Then I thought I should say something grown up, so I said, I'm not sure about this colour. There's a red one like Wayne's over here. Come and have a look. So I did. I've got to agree with you. A car like this was born to be red. It was nice of him to agree with me, even though I didn't remember saying that. Oh, she costs a bit. I know, the price was written on the windscreen. It took up most of the windscreen. But she's worth it. Yeah? Oh yeah. Are you looking to buy or just looking? Yes, I know what I should have said, but to buy sounded older. Would you be bringing your old car in part exchange? No, I like my old car. I'll probably keep my old car. It's a good car. I know the score. The other one's a family car. That's when you're being a proper grown-up dad. This is for when you're playing race cars. Isn't that right? And he winked at Florida. Men, eh? We never grow up, do we? He definitely hasn't, said Florida. Well, said the man in the suit, let's pretend we have grown up. Just for a minute. What's your income? I'm not sure. Varies, really. You're right. You're so right. I'm too nosy. I mean, you haven't even said you want her yet, have you? No, I haven't. I'm always giving it the hard sell. A car like this, you should let it sell itself. That's when Florida said, can we sit in it then? He looked at her for a second and she said, please. Go on then. And we both got in. She whispered, you should have told me to say please. You did say please. Yeah, but you should have told me before I got the chance. That's more dad-like. Okay. The man in the suit looked in, winked at Florida and said, comfy? Yeah, said Florida. I said, yeah, what? Yeah, thanks. And the man handed me the keys. Go on, he said. You know you're dying to. Just nudge her out onto the forecourt, see how she handles. Before I could say anything, he was asking the other salesman to move the other cars out the way and open the big doors so I could take the car outside. I'll need to push the seat back a bit for you. You're a big lad, aren't you? I could have said, yes, I am a big lad. But that doesn't mean I'm old. I didn't say that. I said, thanks, and added, mate. Have you got your licence on you, Mr. Digby? No, I haven't. I try not to sound too happy about this. That's all right, Mr. Digby. I trust you. Thousands wouldn't. He crouched down next to me and gave me a guided tour of the dashboard. There's your MP3 player, your ergonomic seat thing, your sat-nav in case you actually want to go somewhere. I had a thought. I've got Draxford on my phone. Can I hook that up to the sat-nav? He was impressed. He said, not sure. Give it a go. I got Draxford up on my phone and chose a Waterloo. Waterloo? Said the man. No, this doesn't work. Waterloo is about 15 minutes from here. This is showing a journey time of 3 days. Actually, I said, that's Waterloo in Sierra Leone, Africa. He looked at me like I was talking pure poetry. Wow, he said, Africa? And that's in your favourites? What would you do? Shoot down through France over the Pyrenees? He was gone, imagining the whole journey in his head. The rivers, the mountains, the ferries, the desert. Mr. Digby, he said, you deserve this car. If I could, I'd give it to you. So I turned the key in the ignition. The car made a sound like a cat purring. The man stepped aside and pointed to the bonnet. Engineering perfection. And he smiled. It is at the moment, I thought. But in 5 minutes' time, it might well be a load of scrap metal. The thing about level 2, of course, is that it has new and unexpected dangers, so you stand a much better chance of being killed. I looked down at the pedals. I knew one of them was the accelerator. I just wasn't sure which one. One lesson that World of Warcraft teaches you is that if you want to succeed on the next level, you need to acquire new skills. Don't level up until you've skilled up. Sadly, this was a lesson I had forgotten. I was pretty sure, though, that the accelerator was the one in the middle. I had my foot on it when the door on the passenger side opened and a very familiar voice said, you, out, now, come on. I probably didn't mention this at the time, Dad, but on balance, I was pleased to see you. I'm going to pause there. So it looks like Dad has just saved the day before Liam goes off on his Porsche sales drive. We'll see what happens next tomorrow.